Afternoon, NBA fans. Welcome to Sports Talk with Big J, coming to you from Plainfield, Illinois. A lot to talk about the NBA scene, touch base with some of the ongoing issues and what I like to call NBA nonsense, going on. A lot of chatter, big things happening in terms of the various teams, injuries, and things like that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Uh, Looking at a few topics I wanted to touch base on. I call NBA nonsense. If you heard about JJ Redick's comments, got him into trouble, with some of the old heads, Dominique Wilkins and Kevin McHale. JJ they were discussing whether, I think it was Larry Bird was a top five 3-point shooter. I think he was discussing this on First Take, the Mad Dog, Stephen A. and JJ Redick. And attitude was no, Larry Bird was not a top five 3-point shooter. Anyway, they got into the area of the physicality of the game and whether it was more difficult back in Larry Bird's day, whether Stephen Curry had a rougher time getting off 3-point shots because of being grabbed and held. And so really the topic was about the whole physicality, and JJ expressed his view that this narrative around the physicality of the game being so much different back in the 80s and 90s, he felt that was kind of distorted and overblown narrative. And personally, I can agree, with that. And of course, many of the older players, Kevin McHale and Dominique Wilkins, basically JJ Redick an idiot for having that kind of a view, and they really feel strongly that the physicality of the game was so much more physical in the olden days. Now, I guess you might be able to say that it was more physical because it was more inside playing back in those times. There's a lot, the floor wasn't as open and spread out as it is now because of the 3-point shooting. But I do think that whole concept of you can't touch players, and nowadays, and it's so much easier to score, and I don't know that that's necessarily true. If you look at some of the the defenses that were played back in the 80s and 90s, I don't think they play that much more physical than they do now. Today you have better athletes, more skilled players, and just more of them. And but see, what happens is they'll string together these video clips on YouTube where they'll show the most egregious fouls being taken. They always show the clip of Kevin McHale, clotheslining Kurt Rambis, or the plays back in I think it was Rudy Tomjanovich, got hit, broken jaw and all that kind of stuff. And they show Michael Jordan, being beat down, by Detroit. Well, you show all these clips one after another, the way you edit them and put them together. Yeah, it looks like it's a lot more. But, you can do that uh, with today's game. You could, string together clips of just the most egregious, flagrant fouls and say that that's a representation on the physicality of the game, which would be, a distortion. But that narrative is probably going to continue as far as the physicality because it's locked in most people's minds. They think it was more physical. They talk about hand checking. And if you watch today's game, there's still people will put their hands on other players. Now, granted, it wasn't exactly the same. You couldn't do it as much. The game is called differently. And various times they'll let you get away with hand checking somebody, but then more often than not, they're going to call it. So, in that sense, it was different rules of the game. But the thing that's really opened the game up as far as the physicality is, the 3-point shot, and you can't, be as physical because normally you're not going to chase somebody out near the half court line trying to defend them, because most people don't shoot that. Recently you just had a game where Damian Lillard scored, I think it was 71 points, and the question is how how can these guys be scoring this? It has to be easier. But the reality is, to me, it's easier to get off a 3-point shot because nobody is really checking you that close when you're out that far because that's a low percentage shot. So it's easy to get it off. Of course, a player like Damian happens to be skilled at making those shots. So it may be, look like he's subject to less physicality because, nobody is out, one-on-one up in his face, that far out. But, he's running around and coming off screens. And even when you're shooting that far out, you're probably not really doing a lot of running around with screens. You're just, especially on a guard, you're just bringing the ball up. The ball's in your hands. You cross the half court line and throw the ball up. So anyway, JJ said he took a lot of verbal abuse around, that particular aspect of it. So, and you had the comments with Charles Barkley. I think his most recent comments, and this was, I think, in referencing Kevin Durant, about Durant had to win championship on his own. And of course, in a way, devaluing his championships with Golden State. So he was actually trying to compare Durant to LeBron and Kobe, saying LeBron felt that he had to win a championship without Wade to get the old heads respect, and Kobe had to win without Shaq in order to win old heads respect. And he said he's going to hold Durant to the same standard. In other words, Durant had to win without Steph. He had to win on his own. Pressure's on him going to the Phoenix Suns. Of course, Durant apparently responded saying he don't remember hearing LeBron say that, and asked for somebody to send him some clips or some video evidence that LeBron said that he had to win one without Wade in order to get the old head's respect. So, what's interesting about this whole thing is how people place these standards, and people just make up standards to fit their narrative. They keep trying to tie championships to individual players. They say he won 6 championships. Michael Jordan won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. No. Michael Jordan was on a team that won 6 championships. Just like Russell was on a team that won 11 championships. But this whole notion is that it's one player. And so what happens is they start, even when you win a championship, you play on a team that won a championships, they start nitpicking about what your position was on a team to determine whether that championship had any validity, which is nonsense. So it's not enough for Durant to win a championship. He has to win it being the best player. Unbelievable. So if you're not the best player, then your championship really doesn't count as much. So when you say a guy like, and I've heard people say, well, a guy like Robert Horry, who was on teams that won 7 championships, then you're not allowed to say he won championships because he wasn't the best player on the team. So in Robert Horry's case, it's not he. But on Michael Jordan's, it's he. Or Durant, it's he. Bill Russell, he. Kobe, he. What makes this so nonsensical is that if you look at Kobe, they keep giving credit Kobe for 5 championships, but in 3 of those championships, technically the best player on the team was Shaq, because Shaq won the MVP, won that 3-peat. So if you're going to discount Robert Horry's, record because he wasn't the best player, why don't you discount Kobe's 3 where he wasn't the best player? It just shows you how silly these arguments now on this whole debates you see on Facebook about the GOAT conversation. When people bring up Robert Horry, I heard a guy posted something that he said, well, Horry was they didn't win because of him. So that's why they don't count his championships. Because it wasn't because of him that they won. So they always attribute it to one player. But the reality is, on many of those championships teams, you could take any of the key players off the team, and it's quite possible that the team wouldn't have won. You know, they say that Jordan won 6, but only with Pippen. So why couldn't you argue that you take Pippen off of that team, they don't win those 6? But this is a case where people, you know, frame the argument to fit their particular narrative. So, you know, the point is, Barkley saying these comments that he has to win, being the leader and the best player on the team. Otherwise, you know, I don't respect you is so silly. But then when people get on Barkley for never winning a championship, he kicks back on that. That mean you're not a great player because you never won you didn't play on a team that won championship? Well, there's a lot of Hall of Famers that never won championships, you know, because they weren't on a team good enough to win. So, you know, I just can't understand how. Well, I guess I can, because people will formulate any kind of criteria to make their negative or their narrative make sense. You know, for example, I go back and forth. They always point to Michael Jordan 6-0. He's undefeated in championships. And I always ask, please, will somebody explain to me how losing before you get to the finals is better than losing in the final? I don't think anybody would argue that the team that lost in the finals did not have a better season than the team that lost before final. They keep saying, well, you know, LeBron was 4-6 versus 6-0. 4-6. But LeBron got to the finals 10 times, whereas Michael Jordan only got there 6, which means there are 4 times that LeBron did better than Jordan by going further in the championship. He got to the finals where Jordan didn't. But would you say Jordan had a better season? Better season than LeBron had when Jordan lost before getting to the final? He was 6-0. He could only get to 6 finals. Couldn't get to any more. But to only look at the 4-6 versus 6-0 is so silly. I think you'd have a better argument if LeBron had only gotten to 6 finals. If he had only gotten to 6 finals, which means he would be 4 4-2. But he went to 10 finals. So who's to say that Jordan, if he had went to 10 finals, he would be 10-0? I don't think you could say that legitimately. It's just nonsense. I defy anybody to come and argue that losing before you get to the finals better than losing in the final. I want somebody to come and argue that. Tell me, yes, losing before the finals is better than losing in the final. It just doesn't make sense. Now, the other part about Giannis made some comments on a show. I think it was the Daily Show. He was asked to read some comments, and of course, it was involving AD, basically saying that AD needed to come out and work with him to learn how to lead a team to the championship on your own. And of course, everybody considers this as a shot at KD from Giannis. I was listening to Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, where they actually thought that Giannis, even though it was, they were a joke, and he was actually reading, from a teleprompter, is that he shouldn't have said this, and this was disrespectful. Of course, then he had to start, ripping into Giannis, talking about his journey before he made the finals and won the championship. And that's what's so interesting. That in order to make your case for, one player, your player, you have to tear the other player down. So, I guess they have to talk about something, but it just seems that people take things so out of proportion. This was a shot. This was a joke. But people define a joke as a shot. Everything you say is considered a shot or an attack. Just the phraseology that's being used, it's kind of, inciting, tension. So there'll be a lot of talk about that, and then, is KD gonna come back and attack Giannis? Well, guess we'll, find that out. Well, looking at the Lakers, the Lakers are, I think, in trouble, with LeBron's latest injury. Now, I said this early on, it's even probably before the season started. I was afraid that LeBron was going to get hurt. It just happens when you get in that age and that been playing that long, 20 years, age 38. It was only a matter of time before he experienced a serious injury. Now, I am glad that it happened after he, broke the scoring record, because I was afraid that the injury might have happened before that, but turns out that he was able to break the scoring record. But now he's seriously injured. And he may be out indefinitely, multiple 6 weeks at the most. He may have a fractured, bone in his foot. So the question is, can the Lakers hang on and make the play-in and the playoffs with just Anthony Davis alone? Now, if you ask me, no. Even though they really improved their team with the new additions, but you can see right off the bat, injuries have already raised its ugly head with D'Angelo Russell getting hurt. And we know that Anthony Davis is injury prone. So I really don't expect Anthony Davis to last 20 some games without being hurt. So if it happens, I'm going to be totally surprised. But they had some nice additions with Vanderbilt. Athletic, young, playing defense. Blake Beasley provides some shooting, but as you saw against Dallas, he only shot, I think, 3 for 14. So he can still have up and down, shooting. I think that victory against Dallas, where they came back from 27, they only shot six threes. I think it was 6 out of 30 some 3-point shots. And usually a team cannot win. It's a miracle that they even won that game with that kind of poor shooting. But they won it by playing good defense. And of course, Dallas was making threes like crazy in the first half, but then they kind of cooled off second half of the game. So, but I think if LeBron hadn't gotten hurt, I think they would have had a chance to get in the playoffs. But now I'd be surprised. I just don't think Anthony Davis can carry the team. We don't. So they play Memphis tonight. This will be a good test for them and see what can happen. So if they can win convincingly tonight, I might change my thinking on that. We'll have to see what happens. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch base on, you got the MVP race going, and Joker, who is a 2-time reigning league MVP, is in top spot, is being favored to win it again for the 3rd time this year. And he's being pushed by Joel Embiid, who is having a good season. But in my view, the Joker is the runaway favorite to win it a 3rd time. And if you want to see the difference between these two players, I know Skip Bayless in his mind, thinks Embiid is better than Joker, but in my view, that's ridiculous. And if you ever want to really see the difference between the two players, to me, it showed so graphically in the last game between Philadelphia and who was it that they played? Was it the Clippers? That they played. Let me see. '76ers. Oh, it was the Heat, where they lost by 2 points. But the final play of the game, they throw the ball into post into Embiid. And Embiid was being guarded by Bam Adebayo, who he has at least 3 inches on. But Embiid was unable to score. Remember, he's inside, got the ball inside, close to the basket, but he couldn't score. He ends up throwing it back out to Harden, who takes a 3-point shot and that would have won the game, but he ended up missing. But what my point is, as far as the difference between the two, if the Joker had gotten that ball in the post that close to the basket, there's no way he would not have been able to score. His footwork alone enables him to maneuver, fake, shoot the ball with one hand, and just dump the ball in the basket. Versus Embiid, who was unable to create any type of shot with any kind of footwork, pump fakes. He didn't know how to do that. If he's not shooting a jump shot mid-range, he has no moves. I watched Joker in a similar situation. He would pump fake, reverse pivot, and then go up with one hand and just put the ball in the basket. Embiid didn't even try to pump fake and attempt to score. In other words, he didn't even attempt a shot. And that is the difference. So in no way is, at least offensively, is he nearly as good as Joker. So people can say all they want about Embiid, being in contention, but I think it would be a travesty if he ended up winning it over Joker. And Tatum, I don't think is really it shouldn't be in the running. I don't see anybody now that is challenging the Joker for his third MVP, and that would be the first time that's been done since I think Larry Bird doing 3 in a row. So anyway, that's just my opinion, and we'll see what happens tonight with the Lakers, and I think Durant's supposed to make his first showing with the Suns tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing that. So it's all, folks. See you next time.